It started there, then it continued again. I think that Fire Giant shot was really, really telling, where it's Vaporish Coast and mid lane Dobson sitting in the back line, and everyone else is just, now, nobody's dying, but that's fine because the carries aren't dying. The collapse of the Hunter and the Mage hit the player, and then they just walk up and they go, oh, well, who's next? You guys have been zoning an entire nation's worth of players. Game number 1. Nice and easy to Vaporish Coast and his new team. Let's get on to game number 2 and see where these guys are going. Can ex-rival Team Ricardo now bounce back and find a victory and bring us to game 3? Or will it be all about Dobbos Disciples doubling down? Well, picks and bans on the way. Right away, no Babby. Vamana going to be taken away.
No surprise. Vamana's looked really, really good so far. He dominated the entire first set basically by himself, so keeping him off the board here in set number 2 is probably a good look, as is taking away Vaporish Coast's Xiblanque.
Specifically because Predators and OPUSB are these strong offensive solo laners, and Vamana's going to be used well there. Although in set number 1, he was in the jungle, Vamana can still absolutely do what he wants. Zeus banned out again. We were talking about Fly being the guy, and so won't have the Lightning Man available. So that's taken.
I wonder if Ricardo's going to prioritize Hera this time around, because Hera made it all the way to the second ban phase on both sides last game. And if I'm on Team Ricardo, I'm trying to give Fly something that sets up for my team a little bit better. As I mentioned, the synergy between Giannis and Al Kwong doesn't really work together that well. Artio first pick is crazy to me. Bacchus is open, Hera's open. You've got a lot of really good picks available to you, and I just don't. Artio's fine. King Arthur's open. I mean, there's just such better picks than Artio in that first slot.
It's interesting. I think Artio is a King Arthur deterrent, and Ricardo said, we don't care.
as they really shouldn't. The only time where King Arthur is really going to get bodied by Artio is if he gets camped by the jungler as well.
Sure.
And there are things you can do to mitigate that. You can camp the other side of the map to set them behind. You can really put pressure on the jungler and invade consistently so that your King Arthur feels fairly safe. It's an annoyance in lane, it is, but Artio just doesn't have the kill potential on Arthur that you really need if you want to shut him down 1v1 in lane.
I agree.
You really need that jungler presence if you want to make that work.
Does anyone have the kill potential 1v1 in lane for King Arthur?
Yeah, I think Al Kwong does really well 1v1 up against Arthur.
Okay.
Little bit trade autos really, really well. I mean, no one outscales Dragon Call, so you can end up getting him. And again, you don't have to kill him. You only have to get him below that execute threshold. I think the gods that can play pretty aggressively and also disrupt him at the same time. It's really not a lot of warriors. I feel like it's a lot more of the assassins and things like that. I think Naja is a solo pick that works really well right now up against King Arthur, as well as up against a lot of different things.
Well, the first round of picks are out. Dobbo looking like they have built a draft to deal with King Arthur. Artio, Poseidon, Cernunnos, all of these characters have either cripples or something to deal with Arthur. That ultimate wild hunt is going to be a very big deal in trying to deal with it. So I think that's the Artio's first pick, and while I'm with you, I would think I would rather be on a different page. I at least see where Dobbo is coming through. They're going, we're going to give you Arthur, and then we're going to draft to deal with it. Ricardo across the way, Arthur, Bacchus, and a soul.
Yeah, I wonder about these mage bans after the soul selection, because this could be, they've heard what Ricardo's been practicing, or maybe they've been practicing against Ricardo themselves, where this soul wouldn't be going to fly in the mid lane. I like this Robin selection from Ricardo, kind of keep it open-ended. You don't know where that soul is going, if it's ADC or into the mid lane. I don't know. I just feel like if Fly is your best player, which, by the way, Fly is your best player.
Fly is your best player.
Why not give him the best tool to win? And Hera is your best tool to win in the mid lane right now, in my mind. So why, unless it's a god that he really doesn't like to play, I don't like this notion that we can, we'll let him ban it, we'll pick something else. I just don't agree with it.
I'm with you as well. I think there's something. One of the beautiful things about Smite is that competitive Smite is different because of god pools, and maybe he just doesn't have it in the god pool. I think the secondary conversation is, this is a character you better get in your god pool.
Yeah, you need it. You need it in your god pool. If you don't have it in your god pool, then what have you been practicing the last 3 months? I mean, Hera's been out since December. That's like, where you been?
I agree.
You got to have it in my mind.
One of my favorite picks here, shoutouts to the Cupid, which I think is a big deal, but I actually like the Robin the best. Robin into Poseidon, one of my favorite situations.
I hate it. As the Poseidon player, I hate it.
And as the Robin player. Yeah. Not only do you flip kick the Kraken, but you mitigate the damage. Can they mitigate the loss? We'll find out. Dobbo, up game 1. Casters, take it away.
We'd be happy to take it away, Tom. Great job on the desk again, and it's Ricardo with it all to do if they want to even up this series and force it into a Game 3 totally. But after that dominant performance in Game 1 from Dobbos Disciples, how can Ricardo flip the script?
It's hard. Dobbos has a very team fight-centric kind of composition. Same style that they had in the last game, going for, a Geb, but now this time they have a Terra for more team fight presence. Whereas Ricardo is going for more of an all-in strategy this time yet again. Bacchus frontline, Ravana frontline, King Arthur frontline. This Cupid and Soul might have difficulties in the late game if they stagger early.
It certainly could be. Like you said, especially with someone like a Susano on the team who could find their way to the back line and harass them quite well. These are some gods with some safety, with the dash, with the disapparate, but if those aren't available, they can certainly get punished, as it looks like Dobbos Disciples have started at the red buff this time in the dual lane and given up here on this, given up on the first wave.
If you're afraid of fighting at level 1, this is probably a valuable start if you're expecting the enemy team to invade your red buff. This gives you open-ended opportunities to counter-invade if you get the mid-pressure. And what Vaporshkos is doing there on your screen is he is hugging that purple side wall to gather all that experience that was about to be lost under the tier 1 tower.
To make sure they were at least able to get some of it. It looks like in the end they could not quite defend the buff. At least they left it on the ground. So it looks like Turtle and Tylern were able to secure at least that much. We move over to the middle lane where Fly is on the Soul this time. In fact, Colossxl and Reformango might be looking to tussle here in the jungle. They do exchange blows, but no one continues looking for more.
Ravana wants to box for as long as possible because he wants to utilize that passive. After, I think, 8 basic attacks, he's able to get a little bit of a percentage of his maximum health as a shield. So Susano just wants to kind of get in and get out of the action, drop that Storm Kata, and run away and wait for the cooldowns to reset.
Mango, though, has a chance to sneak in and put some good damage on the Colossxl, and in fact, he finds first blood and is able to get away from the damage from Fly, and now there might be a chance for the turnaround. Dobson in some trouble. He will fall, but Mango wants the double. He finds it to start the game.
Great body blocks from Dobson, saving the life of Mango, resetting long enough to allow the jet stream to come back off of cooldown, to come in for the cleanup. 2 kills go in the way of Reform Mango. One of the best starts you could hope for from a jungler. And not only that, Dobson with a title search, knocking Fly back in away from the safety of his own tier 1 mid tower.
Right, it was well played by Dobson so far, and it's important that not only do they get 2 kills from Mango, but anything to slow down Fly's progression is important. You heard them talking about it on the desk. Very likely Fly is just the best player that Ricardo has. He's from the best team from last year, and Predators can sometimes be a little bit less consistent than you'd like. You need Fly performing well, and they've limited that already.
Vaporshkos is playing very well. He was holding his own in a 1v2, poking out Mr. Turtle quite heavily, actually. Will actually get baited out there, but that was on purpose because Switch wants to go for this Bacchus that doesn't have the belly flop.
Looks like they might have disagreed a bit there because Switch drops the sprint, but I didn't see Coast move an inch, so I don't think he really wanted to go in on that.
The problem was that they didn't clear the wave right away. There were still 3 archers, and this low level, sitting level 3 Terra, 3 Cernunnos, those archers will pack quite a punch.
Now it's time to try and see who can grab this blue buff. It is USB trying to grab it. The stun was well timed, but just not quite enough to secure it in the end. And now USB might be in some trouble. He falls back, and Predators and Colossxl successfully walk away.
Not much kill potential until both of those frontliners do acquire that level 5. Mango not able to get there. Might be a little bit trouble as Dobson, considering he has no mana, forced to use the beats, but this could be a bait with Mango right there.
Comes in to try and help him. The Supernova's there. It's not enough to kill, but it is enough to force Mango away and to pull out his Purification
If
beats.
he hits level 5 off that, that is going to do a lot of damage, and that's what he's banking on. Needs to clear a couple more minions. Kraken available.
Kraken just barely not on the mark, and so Fly is able to get out of there. But you're right, the level 5 timing was so key. If he has Typhoon when he goes in off that last jet stream, that's a kill.
Absolutely. The Kraken needed to connect there, but that's a tall task. When you're dealing with a soul that has to separate, increasing that mobility makes it so much trickier, especially when you don't have actual setup.
Totem of Coup secured one more time. I think Predators has had control of it for the most part so far here in this game, which is good news for Ricardo, who needs some help from somewhere. That is going to be a little bit of goal for the team, some MP5 and movement speed when you need it, as long as you stick around the tower. But I think it's a 10-second buff on you as well once you walk outside.
That's true.
You have it a little bit in lane as well.
Yeah, so you acquire the buff for 10 seconds as soon as you confirm the Totem of Coup, and then, yeah, you just got to, like, dip your toe in the water real quick in the tower, come right back because the water's too cold, and then you receive that buff anyway.
But the funny thing about this solo lane matchup is it's kind of double-edged because right now Overpowered is not going to have the time of his life before he has the Breastplate of Valor completed. But once that does become available, that 30% cooldown reduction is going to start tipping the tides into this Artio's favor.
Artio, though, might be baiting a bit as Mango's on his way. So is Colossxl, but he's going to get here just a little bit later than everyone else. But somehow Predator's able to go up into the air yet again. It's up so often, and that will spell the end of USB. But can Mango even it out? He certainly cannot, and falls back to the tower.
That healing from the Gladiator Shield just narrowly topping Predators off. Also, all the ticks from the Health Chalice. It makes it so much more difficult rather, for Overpowered to survive. And this is the difference between cooldown boots and penetration boots. That extra power and penetration would have been the deciding factor.
Stun lands on the Colossxl. The Kraken hits for damage as well, and it's Predators who might pay the ultimate price for it. He wants Mango to at least try and make it 1-for-1, but Mango has the juke books. He doesn't have enough. Predators cuts him down.
He missed the stun of the ultimate, but he hits the hamstring. Can't miss that one, and he's going to look for even more, getting himself a double kill. This is the Predators that we all know.
Guys, King Arthur's pretty good as Predators puts on a clinic over in the solo lane, and now Colossxl in some trouble, but he has backup coming over in form of King Arthur, who will slow him down, and Colossxl is at it.
Predators just get so much health back right there. He was sitting at 10% health a minute ago, and now sitting at 75%. This is where Overpowered USB is going to try to secure his own blue buff, but against Predators, burst damage is just not happening.
And he's getting the most out of King Arthur's kit, too. Remember when they initially did that gank onto USB? Predators started the 1v1 fight with the ultimate when they were both almost full HP, knowing he'd be able to get it reset in time to use it again during the gank attempt once he finally got a little bit of backup in the next fight. That's how he turned it around.
And this is Predators just putting on a clinic now, abusing the strength of this King Arthur before Artio gets the real power spike. The more blue buff he steals away, the less impactful that USB is going to be in these team fights. Predators can sit in this lane for as long as he wants, start proxying soon once he finishes off those boots, and he's going to dare Mango to start making these rotations to start alleviating the pressure from the Artio.
Dobson might be in a bit of trouble now as the aggression comes out from Colossxl. Kraken is there, but you might be wondering, I thought there was a tier 1 tower there, so did I, but it's already down. 7 minutes in, that's something Soul just kind of brings as Mr. Turtle has to fall back.
Considering that Dobson made that rotation in the solo lane and paid his life for the process, that just allowed an easy opportunity for Fly to abuse that Soul passive, increasing her magical power, her attack speed. When left unchecked, Soul can even get your tier 2 tower if not careful.
She absolutely can. There's a couple gods in the game you got to worry about. Izanami comes to mind as well.
Kronos.
Who doesn't need a whole lot of time. Kronos, yep. Some gods who only need a small window to really do some serious structure damage. And I think that Dobbos end up paying the price for it. So this time it feels like the big difference is they're getting a much better game out of Predators.
And that's the deciding factor. We talked about how volatile of a player he is. Even when he's behind, he still has the aggressive identity.
Absolutely.
It's a good and a bad thing, you know, but right now it's certainly looking very good for not only himself but the rest of his teammates. That's down 0-1 in this best-of-3 set.
Yeah, this is peak Predators where he's able to play with almost the disrespect he always has, but this time it's with a lead, and it really is able to be strong for his team. So it's working out well for Ricardo so far. Now it's up to Dobbos Disciples to try and find a way to stabilize, to get back to even in this game. Mango might be in some trouble though, just as I mentioned it. Beads does allow him to reposition, and he ends up tricking him into thinking he's going to blink, when instead he's just walking back to the team.
They should have controlled that little entryway after the jet stream kind of juked them out. After clearing the wave, if you control that space, especially with a Kraken, you don't want to allow them to farm if you can. Like, any little thing you can gain on your opponent is going to stretch it to something else after the fact. So you clear the wave, you zone them away from their wave, then you might chip away the tier 1 tower. You do that 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden now you're even in terms of getting a tier 1 mid tower of your own. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So if they're not going to be looking for these opportunities, then they're going to start falling further behind. And I don't necessarily mind it because I still think that the late game is fine for Dobbos. Very similar story to the last game.
Oh, this is bad news bears for Tylern. He is able to dash away, but that means the beads come out from Coast. He'll at least make it 1-for-1 when he dies to the Heart Bomb. Tylern landing that one right before he went.
Very unfortunate. He tried to position himself not to get hit by that Cupid ultimate, but just narrowly getting clipped there. Had to use the bees prematurely.
Ultimate comes out into Predators, courtesy of Dobson to bring him down to half HP. but he's got Glad Shield and an ultimate. He's going to start working on healing that right back up, and he sends Mango on his way after taking a hefty chunk of his health.
Predators with a little bit of cooldown reduction will happily take that trade every time against Mango, knowing that his backline is going to be so safe now, especially once they start this objective.
And remember, Coast died a little bit later than Tylern did there, so that means now the Cupid's able to make it back to the action a little bit sooner. In fact, Predator's not going to let Mango make it to the action at all, diving him right into tier 2. He dodges it just barely, and is that enough to keep Predators in the tower long enough? It isn't, but he will die eventually.
He will, with Dobson right around the corner, but the important damage has been done. Wait a second, Predators healing from the Gladiator shield, but he didn't get the stomp off that he needed. He's just trying to clear the wave now before he dies.
I remember during all of that, Gold Fury did go down as USB is eventually able to finally take down Predators, but I think that's the most he could have got out of that in a world where he did not get the kill, or rather did. Meanwhile, Colossxl trying to grab this Pyromancer with Fly's help, and they certainly will.
Ricardo really able to stretch the objectives in their favor this game, and Dobson, you can see the fear in his eyes when a 5% health King Arthur can fully contest 100% health Poseidon. Granted, you don't necessarily want to drop the Kraken there on such a low target, but sometimes better safe than sorry. So luckily, if, what was it, Overpowered didn't make that rotation when he did, I think that maybe Predators would have gotten out of there.
Certainly a clinch time there for Dobson. He was in some trouble. Fly now takes well over half his HP from the full combo from Mango, and the coup should be going down in favor of OverPoweredUSB. But does Dobbos Disciples, despite everything they've lost, you know, a tier 1, a Gold Fury, their lives, they're down only about 3,000 gold. We're still early in this game, but if they can hold on, this certainly isn't all doom and gloom.
I agree with you, Finch. But the last game, I believe it was Dobbos that had this 3,000 goal lead, but it was at the 22.5 minute mark, where it didn't really make a difference. We take that same exact lead and we transition it to the 11.5 minute mark in game 2. This is a lead you can start building off of. The difference between a fully completed tier 3 or a third tier 3 item versus maybe 2.5 items from the opponents.
I definitely think it's one that you'd feel this early a lot more than you would at 20 minutes. I agree with you on that one. It just comes down to if Dobbos can deal with it. Looking over to switch on the Terra. Looks like he's elected for the Onis in that second slot. There's a lot of options for our Guardians nowadays about how they want to be building for their tankiness. They don't have to all build Gauntlet or Sovereignty or anything like that.
9% damage mitigation if you're surrounded by 3 players is pretty good for a Terra, especially that can get a little bit of healing. This is Predators just spamming his abilities now, trying to see how long he's going to fight.
Mango somehow in the 1v2 is able to find a kill and juke out the ultimate and the leap Mango the nut, but I don't think he's able to make it all the way out of here. He is able to get a little bit further away with the jet stream, but over the wall, Predators is able to take him out.
What accuracy displayed from Predators on this King Arthur. The Terra's ultimate is going to come through as well. Now, in a little bit of a 3-on-3 situation, Intoxicate even powering through, but the Terra's heal making an impact.
And now Dobbs is into trouble, takes a ton of damage from Colossxl, and Mr. Turtle's the one that eventually tracks him down to make it 2-for-1 overall in favor of Ricardo. But Mr. Turtle low, USB brings things back to try and make it 2-for-2.
2-for-1 thus far. Predators is half health, but it's technically more considering that Gladiator shield is going to top him up. And he wants to be surrounded by 3 players because the more he hits, the more he heals. Look, his health is just not dropping. If Colossxl was still there, they would win this.
They would have a chance to turn things around, and somehow Predators still stands. They just don't have enough damage, enough cooldowns to bring him down just yet. They need a way to lock him down so Coast can land some more damage. So Predators goes up into the air with USB and has a chance, but it's not enough. They finally bring him down.
If Colossxl was there, they all die. That would have been a 2-on-3 easy peasy. I guarantee you, in comms right now, Predators is like, where the hell were you?
Look at the damage charts.
That's Arthur, man.
That's a lot.
That's not fake damage.
14,000 coming out from Arthur so far, and he's been able to sustain through a ton of damage from the other side as well. That shows how strong this pick is. Now, to be fair, Dobbos Disciples let this pick through. This is one that they felt confident that they could shut down. So far, they have absolutely not been able to.
That's why they first picked the Artio. this time around, knowing that King Arthur was going to go through. It was actually Dobbos that had King Arthur because Bacchus was first picked by Ricardo. So kind of switching things up in the picks and bans, kind of wishing they probably had the King Arthur for themselves at the current state of game. But like you mentioned before, it's still too early to tell if this lead is going to amount to anything. This next goal here that's due to respawn in less than a minute is going to tell a different tale.
If anything, the lead has shrunk a little bit from the last time we looked at it. It's only about 2,000. The experience is all but normalized. So if you're Dobbos Disciples, you've held on long enough. You got to keep it going, and like you said, be ready for this next objective fight, but you can be there on almost even ground.
You know what it was, Finch? They finally killed the raid boss. They got all their epic loot after the fact. The Pestilence has been completed for Overpowered, making it a little easier now to take out Predators. And now this is where Artio gets a power spike. This 30% cooldown reduction marker is going to keep the King Arthur crippled long enough for the rest of his teammates to get that kill.
And now it comes towards the Primal Fury as the next objective on the left-hand side. Remember, these other two Furies were added. The Primal, the one that gives you more damage to the camps, the Oni that busts the next minion waves that spawn in all 3 lanes. Both of them rather strong. Primal necessary sometimes when dealing with the Enhanced. But now it looks like it's Ricardo who want to start this up first, though they do wait and back off.
Everyone making their way downtown. They're not walking. They're going to be running really fast this time if they want to confirm this objective. Switch is going to get zoned out by Predators, rather. It's up to Vapours to steal it.
It does kind of come down to the Hunter to find a way, but it's not enough. Ricardo are able to secure the objective for free. But what about the fight on the back end? This is the time where Disciples can try and make them pay, and Predators will be the first one to fall. It's shades of Game 1 all over again, as the game's still fairly even.
It took 3 ultimates to do the dirty deed, but now with a 5-on-4 power play, Dobbos can rest easy knowing that they can siege this Tier 1 mid tower.
And it can't be just Fly here to defend. He might be a little bit too vulnerable. He's in Snap right now. As onto the backside goes Colossxl and the Robin to try and lock him down, but Typhoon rips to the fight. That sets up Dobson for one more kill, and now it's Colossxl stunned, locked down, and dead. USB gets one more.
I mean, they keep their Tier 1 tower alive, Finch, but at what cost? Losing 2 players. This is going to allow Dobbos to reset, heal with the Terra's Monolith, and then look for round number 2, especially with Mango on the side.
Fly has stepped forward. Might have been a little bit too much. Good damage, though, coming out from Tylern, and that will be enough to take down Mango. The Heart Bomb was on him, and that will be enough to finally slow down this push.
Well, they did force out the beads at the very least from Tyler, the Aegis even onto 50-meter Fly. They keep the Tier 1 mid tower alive, but Dobbos still with the same deficit that they had before. So the only real benefit that Ricardo got was the buff now that they're going to receive for getting other objectives such as Pyromancer and Fire Giant.
They should be able to burn it much faster now as a result. You're exactly correct. Pyro already at half HP, and with Dobson taking this long path around, he will not make it there in time, but can he punish? He does get the knock-up on the Tylern, and he is able to get him with the Tidal Surge, but how can he get away from Predators?
Definitely can't. Even the shell, not enough to get out of that sticky situation, so not able to get the Pyromancer. Does find a kill onto Tyler, even forcing out the Aegis. So I think that's the goal now for Dobbos, is to lean onto Tyler in this next skirmish.
If there's any way they can try and shut down this Cupid, but totally, it has been a back and forth game here in game number 2. It felt like in game 1, when Dobbos Disciples finally wrestled the game away, they never lost it at any point. This was Ricardo's early on, and Dobbos have fought their way back to nearly even, and they're keeping it right around that spot with a small lead for Ricardo. It's just so close between these teams.
The pacing of the amount of kills on this game surprises me that there's not more Height of Urchins. Only now building into it is Predators sitting at the Tier 2 version of it. The amount of kills also almost reminds me of some of my ranked games. 21 kills in about 18 minutes. It's a lot more in my ranked games, honestly. A little bit of a clown fiesta, but these teams are calculating about when they take the fights and what they're actually fighting for.
It has certainly been a lot of action so far as Mango is able to just barely get out of a bad part of town and make his way back to the rest of his squad. But so far, things have been fairly normal. We've seen a little bit more of this Runefort that's been prominent lately. That's there for Coast. But from everyone else, these are fairly standard build paths, I would say, that we've sort of come to expect.
Runefort Sham are very popular for Cernunnos. probably the only hunter you're actually going to see it on, maybe on Artemis as well in the near future, but not a very popular pick thus far when you have the Cernunnos, when you have the Xbalanque. Interesting to see the Cupid being last picked from Ricardo, but honestly, I don't mind it. The cripple from the Fields of Love is going to shut down just the potential engage from Reform Mango, switches combination, because he's not going to be building beads anytime soon. So you see the Monolith come up, you drop the Fields of Love, there goes the Terra engage.
And he's been building Tylern, I mean, into this damage this whole game. Has the Transcendence, has the Crusher there to follow up. It's going to be a ton if you get hit by the Heart Bombs. You're in that, stuck in that Fields of Love. So he's itemizing correctly to get the most out of this Cupid.
4 members from Dobbos trying to get to the solo lane. Mango looking for the pull just out of range from the Wind Siphon. Will get the Typhoon off, but no one there to follow up.
Mr. Turtle, the next one in trouble. He's been locked down, stuck inside the ultimate from Dobson, and that will be a kill for Dobbos Disciples. Can't get the pull into Colossxl, though the overhead kick is a little bit better. Though Vaporous looks like he wants the 1v1 in the left lane.
He does have a 1-level lead, lifesteal available. Cupid not necessarily known for always building into that, considering you have the hearts to drop for yourself. So going for more of an ability damage focus by having the Crusher is respectable, but not having the same kind of attack speed, considering that the Executioner not online for Tylern.
Yet it is there for Coast, a substantial advantage to have over the Cupid, but he will not be able to capitalize on it. He's forced to back. And it looks like Dobbos Disciples didn't find much else on the right-hand side for getting their pick onto Mr. Turtle.
Speaking of attack speed, also going for Warrior Tab I was Tylern, wanting that extra 20 power instead of the 15% attack speed that Vaporous Coast wants. And when you're going for a Cernunnos with Runeforged Hammer, you need that attack speed to proc multiple Winter Grasp hits to amplify the Runeforged damage proc. So it makes sense from both sides. Tyler's leaning on those Heart Bombs, the Fields of Love, whereas Vaporous Coast is more basic attack focused.
And look at these damage charts. I remember I pointed out how far ahead Predators was when it was like 14,000. Well, everyone else is starting to catch up. We're not getting nearly as many of those big prolonged fights where Predators can just slug it out and live and live and live and sustain. That's helped Dobbos Disciples out a lot too.
This time is going to be the Oni Fury, so if a team confirms this one, that next wave from all 3 lanes is going to be amplified, and if left unchecked, will take out those towers like a hot knife through butter.
They will just keep on pushing. It really feels like it sometimes. It's a really good opportunity to force a fight elsewhere, as Reform Mango might be in trouble as Predators, just when I called his name, going in aggressively to the backside, but he's left Mr. Turtle alone, who might be in trouble in the back end as Colossxl cannot find Dobson.
That's because Mr. Turtle is solo. He's going to have to reset. Reform Mango looking for an exit strategy, but he's going to be looking to get caught off there, but no, Predators just can't get in range.
Fields of Love, though, that's going to land on top of everyone. A follow-up with the Wild Hunt, and that does hit home on the Predators to bring him low, but Colossxl wants more than that. He wants to bring down the health bars, but might have bit off more than he can chew. He's got to go running for his life as well.
Overpowered is going to blink in. He needs to find the root. He
lockdown.
does find it. There goes the claws, but Vaporous Coast gets credit with that kill. It took about a minute, Fish, but we finally have a casualty here.
And now they're going to go towards the Oni Fury. No one around to stop this from happening as USB is able to zone away multiple members. In fact, Dobbos Disciples, they want a little bit more on the back end. 2-man stun. That opens up the door.
Predators very low, not able to get the healing off that he's expecting. He actually goes back in with the ultimate. Great bait from OverPoweredUSB. Gets the root off. Meanwhile, Tylern on the back end side takes out Coast.
Dobson's got to get out of here. No mana, no HP, nothing. Switch in some trouble as well. He's got Fly right there barreling down on him with those soul autos. That's 2 kills. In fact, USB is going to fall as well. A fight that was handily in their favor swings right back the other way when they stick around too long.
And this is the important difference between chasing a kill or leaning with your team to make sure they stay alive, because even if you kill Predators there, you're still going to lose Vaporous Coast and you're still losing the team fight at the end of the day. When you compare Artio to King Arthur, Artio has more control. You need her in team fights more than you need a King Arthur.
Well, Dobson has the ult. If he hurries, he can make it here in time to not just contest, but to steal the kill away. He's here, and he's actually able to get it. Dobbos Disciples, they are the ones with the Fire Giant.
Are you kidding me? I think it was the Whirlpool that
I don't think it was the ult at all, yeah.
I don't think the Kraken deployed in time to confirm the very last hit of that objective, and that is very disappointing when one tick of a Whirlpool is all that is required to steal that objective.
Dobson just happened to get there at exactly the right time, it feels like there, Tully, and it just wasn't perfectly secured on the back of Team Ricardo. I don't think they were expecting him to make it there that fast. In this case now, that means that, yes, there's 2 Fire Giant buffs on Mango and Dobson, but more importantly, this halts Ricardo right in their tracks. Look at the gold. It's virtually even now. That was such a big window for Ricardo that Dobson slammed shut.
They still need to worry a little bit about the experience, but it's only between these 2 mid-mages. Everyone else is basically even. Mango's slightly ahead, so he does have that maxed out Typhoon. Ricardo gonna have to think twice about confirming their next objective.
Well, it looks like we have a second. If we can go back and take a look at that Fire Giant, exactly how that one ends up getting grabbed. Dobson comes in at the last moment.
The knock up on Turtle, maybe.
Maybe that helped out a lot too. It's just the Whirlpool. I think so. Nothing else was there.
Oh, man. That was wild. Fly was also very late in using that Supernova. He could have used it a lot sooner to confirm. And normally what a lot of Souls will do is they'll actually start the Fire Giant with that ultimate so it builds your passive faster to get that extra attack speed and magical power.
Well, it's Dobson and Mango with the buff and a 5v5 at the tier 2 on the left-hand side as Dobbos Disciples want to try and force their way in around their small power play. But Team Ricardo are not backing down. They're here in great numbers.
5-on-5 stun onto Predators. He's getting chunked very slightly. They have the minion wave there. Tower's still very healthy, sitting at about 80%. Colossxl going in, but he's so low, he's forced to go out.
Predators is already well below half as well. Colossxl goes back in and gets punished. A good Fields of Love comes back out, but it's nowhere near enough. Predators and Colossxl are removed from the fight.
Supernova going to force out the Aegis from Vaporish Coast. The Kraken is going to force everyone back from Ricardo. Tier 2 tower will finally go down, but can anyone else get secure? I don't think so, so they got what they came for with a tier 2 tower.
It's been not break from Team Ricardo as they don't end up losing any lives, but they do lose the objective, which is really what Dobbos Disciples wanted, and a little bit of free gold. They can now make their way over to the tier 2 in middle or in the solo side as well, if they want to try and break this open more, but they have no minis.
Also, Dobbos has a better relic advantage now, having 3 purification beads, whereas Ricardo only has 1. So they want the relic trade-off. Still looking for a little bit of action. Dobson gets the red buff, but at what cost?
Dobson ends up getting caught out, absolutely, but a great stun from USB saves his life, but only for a moment. Now it's Colossxl who's threatening him, but Mango ends up intercepting. Somehow they get their mid-mage out of the fray, but what about the rest of the team?
Risky call from Dobson, staying inside that red cove. Almost not only gave up his own life, but reformed Mango's life in trying to bail his mid-mage out of that bad situation. But still having Fire Giants for a little bit longer, not due to respawn for maybe another 2 minutes, closer to 2.5, and that's going to allow Dobbos to just still play catch-up. They were down 3,000 gold at one point, but essentially now even.
It really does feel like, for the most part, Disciples are the ones who can generate their own lead. But then it's, are they able to play smart with it? We've seen several fights where I feel like they can't make a clean call on when to get out soon enough, or they go a little bit too far, a little bit too deep, and they end up paying the price. They barely get Dobson out this time, but he almost died again.
Well, if there's ever a time for Dobbos to force fights, it's got to be now rather than later. Predators working on his Urchin stacks, also working on Gauntlet of Thebes stacks. Needs 20 more stacks to get that passive generated and the extra protections that comes with it for not only himself but the teammates.
Predators, this early impact has started to fade away a bit, and lately at this point in the game, it's been a lot of Dobson and Mango and USB having a big impact for Dobbos Disciples as they do pull in the Primal Fury. The Team Ricardo are nearby and want to try and stop it, but can't get there in time. That is the objective for the Disciples.
Trying to maybe force something there with that belly flop. Typhoon is going to disrupt the engagement. Tylern gets knocked up, can't drop the Fields of Love or Heart Bomb to get Mango out of that one.
USB, though, wants to try and be a part of this fight, but the fight's already over. Team Ricardo are not going to make the mistake of chasing a little bit too far, and instead they'll back up. But remember, Fire Giant is just about to spawn. These teams want to spend their money, fill up on wards, and get back.
So I don't expect that much action to happen now, so I want to kind of elaborate on this Gauntlet of Thebes pickup from Predators.
It is surprising.
It is because of his play style. He's very aggressive, almost to a fault at times, and the aura from this item is not going to be too impactful for the rest of his teammates. Normally you want somebody that's going to stay in the backline to receive the extra magical and physical protections, but that's not Predator's style. He's the one engaging, which is why I'm surprised that he didn't opt for an Onis in that slot coupled with the Genshis just to get extra magical protection, because honestly, Dobson's damage and now Overpowered is going to start hurting.
It's the enhanced Fire Giant now that these teams will be fighting over as USB establishes a front line for his team. Everyone here, all 10 members fighting on this side of the map, and plenty of wards still in there to fight over vision.
It's very lit in this Fire Giant Cove right now. 60-meter flying, trying to wrap around. He does get spotted by that ward. Gonna get, oh, he's just narrowly avoiding out the stun. Great opportunity for a switch, but the disapparate timing just too clutch.
I can't believe Fly has held on to both his relics in that situation, but as you said, some slight positional favors going his way, so he's still okay. Pyromancer now quite low, and it actually has not been taken. It's been leashed at this point. That's going to set up a nice belly flop for Mr. Turtle, who wants to rush right in. They've got the Typhoon there to follow back up, but it's actually pretty healthy still for Disciples.
Oh, in the backline, Predator is fighting off more than he can chew as Vaportish strikes first blood in this little encounter. Now running going on the left side is Mango, resetting with some healing from Switch. I think Dobbos can be the ones to this time not only start the Fire Giant, but confirm it.
I wonder if it was Shell. They had such a great setup from Mr. Turtle finding that two-man knockup, and Fly was right there with the Supernova to follow up, but it felt like it just didn't do enough damage.
The problem was the angle of which that team fight occurred favored Dobbos more than it did Ricardo. That Typhoon rips right through that
big, yeah.
little alleyway, and without any follow-up from the Bacchus belly flop, Ricardo had to stagger in one by one.
The Fire Giant now below half HP, Turtle, Tylern, and Fly all nearby, but no ultimates with which to contest to try and grab this objective. They will secure it by way of the Kraken, and Mango will take down Tylern as well. Mr. Turtle's got to start running now as Dobbos Disciple barrel down the right side lane.
They got the Typhoon, they got the Wind Siphon to pull him back in. I don't think he has the belly flop, and now he doesn't have a life either. Now 5-on-3 as Predators respawns. Right side Phoenix seems to be the goal and the target. Predators, Colossxl, and Fly needs to hold on to this to try to stretch it to a game 3.
They've got Predators pushing forward. Colossxl is there and available. He has Blink 2 to try and get into the back line, but this is not in time. Vaportish Coast has shredded this Phoenix down, and it's already been burned. They have Typhoon as well, and that means Predators gets interrupted and shredded immediately. Aegis are pushing for Fly next, who can barely make it into separate. Aegis is there, but waiting for him is Switch.
Oh, the stun not good enough to confirm him under there, but the Titan is the focus instead, Finch.
It certainly is. They just want the Titan. They want to grab the win. Colossxl's trying to get to the back line, but it's not enough. Too little, too late, and they turn their attention back onto the Titan. It's just Fly left up against 4 to try and defend, but the Titan's too low. Fields of Love is good as well, but there's too much DPS. Actually, Tylern pushes 2 back.
It reset, but Vaportish Coast is very healthy. He needs to go in. It's going to be a 2-on-1 on the Titan, and they finally do. Standing strong, one-man Mango is the reformed hero that they needed.
Wow, that's crazy. I thought for sure that they were not going to be able to get it and that was going to be over. I mean, I don't know, but somehow Mango pushes back and has just enough damage. Coast kind of insists on it as well towards the end. That's enough to shred the Titan and give Dobbos Disciples the game 2-0.
When there's a will, there's a way. Predators, similar story to the last game. He just fell too quickly in that last Phoenix exchange. If he was able to reset, heal up, defend the Titan, that game lasts for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think the first 3 chapters were different, but it turns out we were in the same book. Predators couldn't have enough impact for him as a frontline the later that game went. It was too much damage coming from too many sources. Coast, Dobson, and USB were locking him down and shredding him way too quickly.
The Artio cripple, Poseidon's Whirlpool cripple shuts down so many different escape paths between both of his spins, between the uppercut dash as well. It's just difficult for King Arthur to get away, and they were banking on that, which is why they first picked the Artio, expecting the King Arthur to go through.
And that just goes to show how strong those picks and bans were. Remember, as Predators looking so strong, I was worried why they let it through.
Yeah.
Apparently they knew they had the answers.
He had a 2-level lead, but it just didn't amount to much at the end of it.
Well, that's going to be the end of that set. 2-0 in favor of Dobbos Disciples. Let's get it back over to the desk. Let them break down what they saw.
Thanks, boys. Here we are. 2 games down, and that's that. Fantastic stuff coming out, and I think... Actually, I don't know. Is this the direction we expected this to go?
I think so. I think that with the experience of Mango in the jungle for the Disciples, I think that was really evident over Colossxl, who just struggled this whole set in my mind. I think that learning how to play against some of the best backline players in the world can be really difficult because the normal paths or ways that they would play a team fight are a little bit different. I think Colossxl really struggled with that. I think Dobson played really, really well today and was a big reason why the Disciples end up pulling out the 2-0.
Let's take a look at the stats and see how it all went down. Tyler making his debut here, 5-3-1. I like guys named Tyler. On the other side, Porsche Coast just continuing to do it, man. 5, 2, and 6. And you know, this happens to me all the time. Every time I look at the squad or Porsche, I go, yeah, well, you know, we're not really in a hunter-dominant meta. And Porsche Coast picks up his juice box and goes, I don't give a damn. This is my game. And he just does the job all the time. I think you shouted out everybody that you needed to do, but Porsche Coast continues to perform whether or not it's his position's time to shine or not.
Dude's a beast. And that's it. I mean, he's the best hunter in Europe. The end.
Yeah,
and he basically looks like it every time he goes out there. Like I mentioned, though, I think that Mango and Dobson, the way that they played these fights was really, really important. OverPoweredUSB clearly had a little bit of trouble in lane up against the Arthur,
look at this.
But it just wasn't enough in the later stages. He played the late game team fights pretty well.
The positioning out of the mage, I mean, really, you're the guy to talk about positioning, but I don't think you need, pro experience to just respect what this guy has been able to do. Zooming in and out of the team fight, really making use of that Poseidon movement speed. We talk a lot about it when it comes to rotation, but being able just to avoid and move throughout the team fight, it's poetry in motion, baby.
That was a really good play there because you could tell that the decision making was to go after predators, but the target switch was important. This is a lot of luck and also a lot of bad secure by Ricardo. That's Fly's job to secure that with Supernova, and it was just a little bit too late. But Soul isn't the best secure god anyways. Like I said, I don't think Fly on Soul is what I loved.
Agreed.
He didn't have enough impact in that game, and Soul can be really, really potent. I just don't think it's your star player's pick most of the time. It's a really good supporting character. It does its job. It won't make that many highlight plays. It will get the job done. I want Fly in something flashy. I want the Zeus, the Giannis, the Hera, the Thoth. Those are the sorts of gods that I expect Fly to find some more success with.
Porsche Coast finding all of the success in the world. Him and his team hanging up. Coming up next, Cyclone versus Benedicts. We'll see how this one goes up as we move to North America. For now, why don't you get a new hat?